him some slack.
All right, we're not gonna make fun of me for that. All right, guys. For those of you who are watching, I'm so sorry that the audio was not on, and that was completely my fault. Welcome to our first weekly recap of our D&D sessions. This is the recap on episodes 1 and 2 that are currently up on YouTube as of right now, fully edited. Before I realized that we had not had any audio on our thing.
Why we have to edit the episodes.
Yeah. Uh, basically, what I was explaining was what we're going to do with these weekly recaps is go over some of our older episodes and try to catch up to our current episodes now. And for that, we're going to explain what happens in the episode and kind of a couple different accounts of the episode. So for that, we have our DM, Jacob. And he's going to be explaining what his side of the episodes are. We've got our player for this week who's going to be joining us is Abby's character, Thia. And then we have our outside source, who's one of our head moderators right now, which is Zach. And all three of them, including myself, are going to be kind of explaining from all 4 different accounts what happens. Shut up, Jacob. What happens in the episode. All right, so Jacob, I'm sorry to cut you off before. Let's go ahead and get into...
It's fine, nobody heard it.
Let's go ahead and get into what your side of what our first episode was about.
So the first episode takes place in Whitestone, which is a major city in the continent of Taldore. And I wanted the party to kind of get used to kind of a bigger scale. I also wanted them to start role-playing more because a lot of our players, minus what you and Caleb and Michael had never played before. So I just wanted them to kind of understand that it's more than just rolling dice and crunching numbers. There's also a lot of like acting and role playing and character development that you can do. So with the Winter's Crest Festival, I wanted to kind of introduce that. So the first episode is primarily just role play. I think towards the end is when... Do you start the fight at the end, or is there like a fight in the middle? Yeah, it's like a setup, which if you've started watching the show more, you kind of see that that's the structure I like. I like role play, kind of setting a scene, and then action, and kind of breaking it up like that. But yeah, this episode is heavy. The first episode is heavy role play, and then the second episode is heavy combat, which I think is a good way for our viewers to kind of see how D&D really is. It's a mixture of both. But with the first episode, my main 3 goals were get my players to roleplay more, introduce the world to the players more, and to introduce characters that mattered to the players, which some of those I have retconned since the episode, which I can talk about in a little bit. But yeah, that's basically the goal of episode 1. And then the goal of episode 2 is to kind of add more stakes to the battles. Because up to this point, it was kind of just run in, kill stuff, especially when you guys went into that underground lake and one-shot the boss. It was so annoying. But we can talk about that later, too. But it's mainly... Episode 2 is mainly about, combat has stakes. Unfortunately for me, you guys seem to get really lucky in combat because I think I've gotten one of you close to death before. I think it was actually Thea.
No, you almost killed
twice.
Hunter twice also. He's got
he's a wizard, that doesn't count. And one of those times he did it himself.
He's not the smartest.
So yeah, but that's basically my goal for the first 2 episodes, is kind of establish the world as a bigger place than just going to city.
Yeah. Well, me and Abby will probably start explaining the story then a little bit. So Abby, from your side, just more just the overall story. You don't have to get into any specifics. What happened in the first and second episode?
What was it? Okay, so by the time
5 months ago.
yeah, I watched the first episode. Didn't get.
Okay. You can go ahead and do the first one. I can explain the second one.
Because I remember the second one, but barely. The first episode is when I think we'd been in Whitestone for a while, and we were tasked by Vesper to protect her from some kidnapping that she didn't really know why it was going to happen, but she knew it was probably going to happen. And a lot of like most of the episode was us like just waiting for like a good portion of it was just waiting for the ball to actually start. Like what was it? Animas went and sold some meat or paid for someone else to give away meat to one of my favorite NPCs that Jacob has ever introduced was the Meat Man. I don't know what his name was, but
That's
you know,
his name. His name is Meat Man.
He
You don't
was-
need to know his
He was just the Meat Man.
Mates.
Mates.
And God, and then we like went to a seamstress. We did a little magic shopping. I think I got my staff of healing, which I realized the other day that I've been using wrong this entire time. It's supposed to be attuned. I didn't fucking know that.
So like jumping off of that, another thing that this episode kind of shows is characters being able to branch. So like I don't want my players to feel like they always have to be together. I also think it leads to less role play when you don't split people up. Another thing that I find funny is Hunter / Anzu immediately was like attracted to Vesper. And she is not to him. She's a lot more into Zygon for a few different reasons that I will share at a later date. But,
I want to know.
You'll find out. The audience will also find out. But
yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Oh, he's frozen in surprise.
Oh no.
I like frozen in surprise. But yeah, I just wanted to add that. Oh, you're back. Okay, you're good.
I got a storm rolling in, so I'm so sorry.
I wanted to add that. No worries.
That happens to me all the time.
But yeah, I just wanted to add that part. You guys can keep going.
Okay, yeah. And we did do a lot of that. And I don't remember if it was this episode or maybe like the episodes after or something. Like I remember I did something like that actually like fit my character for once. I actually like thought about it and I was like, I want to go to a tavern and read some fortunes and make some money for like an hour or two, like while I was waiting for something. Might have been later episodes or something, but like, look, we do shit like that. That was fun. And then eventually we like got back to Castle Whitestone, got in our positions. Like I think Thea was supposed to be a server, you know.
Yeah.
Like my real life, I am a server.
If I remember it, it was Thea was a server, Animas was a guard, Zygon was Vesper's
bodyguard, personal.
Yeah, Vesper's personal bodyguard of the night
/ date.
Ron was on the.
Ron was also kitchen staff.
He was kitchen staff.
And then
Anzu
was just in the crowd.
Yeah, and then Lochnar had left us
she was
at
like,
that
just
time.
go.
So.
Yeah, Lochnar ran into the woods.
He was a god.
I think is how we explained
Goliath's
it away.
gotta sow their wild oats.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the time of recording, Corey was in Mexico. We're all film students of certain degree, except for Michael. And Corey was down on a shoot in Mexico for a documentary that he was helping.
Yeah.
So I actually like am wondering from your guys' perspective, like how much of that do you still think about like character wise? Because I know like
character wise, like I would say like since it so I think obviously we'll talk about this in a minute whenever Zach jumps in. We had actually been playing for a few months before the first and second episode streamed, but character wise I think that was right on the verge when we started like actually getting to a good level of role playing. Like that's kind of the reason we started like, hey, let's start streaming now, is because we started kind of picking up our role play. So character wise I think that was one of the first things I can remember my character actually remembering as a important situation, because we got blueprints for the musket and we met Vesper and like that whole situation happened. But like before that I don't remember much other than like what I can briefly see in my notes. But also my character wasn't highly involved in the story at that time, so
What about you, Abby? Like, I know that we didn't have a lot of your character planned before that.
No, because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was like, I don't know. She's an elf, and she is kind of weird. I don't know. I didn't have like a real like structure for her. I was just like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'll figure it out eventually. Like I was trying out like an accent for her because I don't do voices. It just doesn't fucking work for me. And then eventually I was just like, this is stupid. It's not. I'm not gonna keep it up. And so like I think that episode was the first time like I got a little nugget of like any like semblance of her place in the world, because like up until then I was just like, I don't know what the fuck she's doing. I was like, I don't know what her goals are or like what has happened. I don't know. I didn't like thoroughly know what had happened to her to get her to this point. And now, especially after like we've done a lot of like backstory planning and like actually talking about it to like get us to this point, like I think that was a big episode where I was just like, oh shit, like stuff's happening.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
So I'll jump in. I'll just explain episode 2 real quick before, because I think we're going a little over on time for the explanation.
Oh.
Mostly my fault because I messed up the first
I mean,
part.
it's just like a little here. I mean, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. So episode 2 was more after we had been assigned our tasks, and we kind of did a couple things in the city in episode 1. We got like some storylines that we'll talk about. Episode 2, we had Vesper end up getting taken by the people she was scared she was going to get taken by, and our characters really could not do anything about that part of the story. Like there was no way to just stop it at the time, so we let her get taken and then tracked her down very quickly. I think in that fight, one of the things that I remember was we still were not great at like coordinating during fights. Not that coordination is ever really a great thing because you don't know what's going to happen, but like playing in the fight wasn't one of our best suits still at the time. But yeah, we ended up finding a group. Yeah, no. We ended up fighting a group, and then we ended up going and catching up to the people who took Vesper, and we saved Vesper and brought her back. So we did end up doing our job in the end, but
we did a very mediocre job.
It was a mediocre job. We got paid for it.
It was also revealed that her brother was responsible for the kidnap.
One of her brothers were one of the people who, or was the person in charge of kidnapping. So moving on to that, Zach's a little bit, he's got a storm coming in, so he's his camera's a little laggy, but Zach, can you still hear us?
Secondary question, can he talk?
That would be our first question. We just have a smiling Zach on the screen.
Hey, that just means he's happy, right? Can he text you his questions and then you ask them?
Here, I'll see if he can jump even on his phone real quick. That might also work. Oh,
maybe this will work.
Oh.
Are you on your phone?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's get Zach into this before the storm hits him too hard. All right. Now that we're back, Zach's jumped on his phone. Go ahead, Zach, with your first question from your point of view for the group.
Yeah, so first question I had was, can we get a quick rundown on how the characters met? I've been going in and out, so I don't know if we addressed that yet or not.
Not yet.
Right.
Yeah, I can do that. So they met in a town called Drana, which is a small fishing village to the southeast of Whitestone. And they just met in a tavern, very stereotypical meeting, because I wanted them to kind of get the flavor of D&D. And then they were tasked with hunting a druid cult, essentially, that had been terrorizing the town. The main reason I had them go after druids is because people usually associate druids as being morally good characters, and I kind of wanted them to realize that, like, a class does not dictate a person's morals. There can be evil paladins, there can be evil druids. But yeah, that's basically how they met, and then they they went to Whitestone. I don't. Do you guys remember why exactly you wanted to go to Whitestone? I don't remember for sure. I don't
Yeah,
remember if it's
I
said or.
I have the note right now. So for the first episode, what happened was because I knew a little bit more about D&D than the other guys, I also had a special entrance for my character. I didn't start in the tavern with them. I was a druid at the time, and my character was kind of starting to set on his mission of what he's trying to do, which is build up his strength so he can go back to Shadowfell and beat the slaver warlock, the guy who's collected so many slaves of his kind and many other kinds throughout Taldore, and defeat him basically. But he's really powerful, so I have to go through one of the quests, the Eremite of the Ereshari, known from Critical Role that Keyleth did, and I was kind of traveling through, and I had heard about a group of druids, so I was doing this job. I had been spying on them for about a week before the group met in a tavern. They were doing the job for the town because the druids had been messing everything up for the town itself. So so you guys went out on the road, and then found one of the evil druids, killed him, and I jumped out of nowhere because I had seen that you guys had been against him, and that's where they met my character, randomly jumping out. I remember one of our older players, she unfortunately had to leave for school issues, but Canel, she was a tiefling, and she was a little bit upset that I had my own entrance and everyone else just started in a tavern, and she was like, why does he get his own entrance? And I was like, but basically
I was just gonna say, like, I miss like the potential. Me and Canal were gonna have like a potential like love storyline. Like, it was gonna be great. I think we like. Oh yeah, the first night we spent the night together.
Yeah, you guys had a.
I was actually kind of interested with how fast you guys went into that.
Yeah, which like that's a thing that I haven't gotten to do with Thea really, because we haven't really done any tavern stuff like much since then.
No,
like that's just not a side of her.
I also like.
Go ahead.
Romance is something that I struggle with when I'm writing. So like I haven't really thought about it much, but like if you guys want to, like, I don't care if you want to do something with an NPC or another character or whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of I just don't think about it, I guess.
Yeah, I just think this is a little off topic, but like I just like whenever we get to do that like taverny like social shit, and like I feel like it would be a good opportunity if we are working on our role play, which we definitely are.
Well, we're heading up to Terra right now in our current campaign, but
once you guys get to Amon, there's going to be a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of role play. Hopefully, we can get through this battle and get to Terra, so me and Jacob might be able to do kind of like a little.
We're probably gonna so people who are watching, we're probably gonna do a Saturday session, not this week but next week, so that'll be fun.
Yeah. All right, so I've got this note, so we can keep talking about just these episodes for now. Yes. We'll do a couple announcements at the end. So basically, we got a note from after we defeated all the druids. We got this note in answering Zach's question. This is how the group's first battle was against the group of druids. We defeated them, got a couple of things.
We did it super fast, weirdly enough.
I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 sessions. We finally
you guys destroyed my final battle.
Yeah, and
he was so mad.
Lochnar found his sword. Lochnar found his flame sword there that he named Flamnar. So basically, we got a note off one of the main druids that said, "The Myriad thanks you for your services. The master is pleased." Blah 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 blah, and they said, once your business in Whitestone or in Drina is done, your presence is requested in Whitestone at the Journey's Inn Tavern. So we headed up to the Journey's Inn Tavern in Whitestone, and that's kind of how that all had started for us. And I believe we ended up before the first episode that we have up on YouTube right now. We found 2 teleportation stones because we found the member of a myriad, and they sent us into a haunted house that had a ton of different like puzzles and stuff. And we found
thing was so fun.
It was so fun, and we found these 2 teleportation stones. We didn't give it to the Myriad, so we don't know if they're still after us. But yeah, that's why we were. That's how we met and why we headed up to Whitestone in the first place.
Yeah.
Zach, do you have another question for us on that?
Not necessarily pertaining to that, but more of kind of a behind the scenes look for Jacob. So we introduced a new character to the group of Braun. So was it easy to fit him into the story, or did you have to make a lot of changes to the script?
Yeah, I can actually go into that a little bit. So before Cannell left, she was in Braun's slot. So when I wanted to fill the slot because of party size and balancing and stuff like that, and we didn't really know anyone else who really wanted to play at the time, so I asked my cousin Michael. For those who don't know, Michael and I are cousins. And I asked him, and he was down, and he would let us film at his place, which was a big bonus. Fitting him into the story wasn't too bad. I think, like, Braun is when he's introduced, he's a very basic character. And as we've gone on, I think he's starting to grow some depth. But yeah, he wasn't too hard to introduce. I had to make very slight tweaks, but nothing too big.
One thing I remember, just a quick note, is that on the topic of backstory, a lot of us have like a very intricate backstory that pretty much our backstories have been shown for the most part. So me, Thea, Zygon, and Anzu, all of us have had our backstories shown. Braun joining didn't have a huge back. Well, not the whole. I'm not saying there. Not, but like we have a portion of our backstory that has been shown, and you can understand a little bit. But Braun and Lochnar both have yet to kind of bring out their full backstory, and I believe Michael's still working on his backstory a little bit because he kind of just got chucked into the situation. So
yeah, like Michael had very little prep time. He had like 2 weeks prep time.
Oh, well.
So yeah, but yeah.
So I guess how
honestly I feel like that's
go ahead.
I was gonna say I feel like we only had like 2 weeks too, because I remember it was like in class we were like, y'all want to play D&D?
Yeah.
And then we were like, I guess so. And then like I didn't realize, Caleb, that you were gonna be playing. They were just like, Hunter was just like, my friend Caleb, and I was like, and you showed up and I was like, oh, Caleb from my screenwriting class. And it was so weird, but like I honestly didn't get a backstory for like a month or two. And after I made her.
Side note on that, yeah, I tried to help Abby out, and Jacob tried to help Abby out with her.
It took like, so long.
Not like building the backstory for her, but like how to like get into focusing on it. One thing for anybody out there who is into film or any of that kind of stuff, D&D is a really good game to play, or other tabletop games. All three of us, minus Zach, happen to be screenwriters of some sort or another. That's kind of all three of us have a focus in it of some sort. So D&D is also a really good way to kind of help your storytelling ability, and also vice versa, screenwriting and storytelling. If you're good at that, you will probably be good at role playing and creating in D&D.
I would also say like D&D just as a game is very it's very open. You can make any character you want within reason. Don't make your DM cry.
Yeah.
But like I mean, like I've played with characters who like the player is straight but their character is queer or pan or whatever, and like when they start out it's kind of gimmicky, but as they get into it they actually start to learn the character more, and like I don't know, it's just I think any person should play the game, because it makes you grow as a person too. It makes you actually like you're creating a new basically like person.
Yeah.
And it just makes you have a more broad perspective.
It can get emotional for sure, because there's not just Critical Role. I know that's something that we all
I can't
watch.
wait to make you guys cry.
But yeah, we've
you almost did a couple sessions ago make me cry.
There's a lot of campaigns.
Yeah, when Meryl was having issues. But anyway, that's for later.
There's a lot of campaigns where you just have a situation where you've been playing for so long with a certain character, and like your group has been like enjoying hanging out with each other for so long, and then all of a sudden like that character is just gone in a battle, and it gets emotional for a lot of people, because if you've invested your time into a character's backstory, you've leveled them up from 0 to the mid-teens. It can get sad to lose that character, and even though you know that player is still going to be there every week, they're not going to be the same character. They have to restart and reconnect.
It's like
with
a completely different person.
Yeah, it's
you have to meet a new person basically.
It's weird how like you wouldn't think you can get so connected, but if you watch, there's people who have full episodes of ceremonies for the deaths of characters. They play music and stuff like that. I've seen a couple of those.
What I'm interested to see is if one of you guys dies, will the other characters want to pick up that person's goal? So like if Animas dies, what are you guys gonna do? Is something that I've been thinking about.
Well, I've kind of created my backstory to a point where he's my main goal is to destroy a guy who's literally trying to gain so much power that he can come to the material realm. So it almost forces Jacob a hand to almost eventually play him into the campaign if my character were to die. I would hope as a druid I don't die, because druids have so much HP to play with.
If you fight a beholder, that it could be a problem.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, Zach, do you have more questions for us?
I have a few for Abby now.
Ooh.
So
Excited.
big kind of plot thing that happened in the first episode. You see your dad again. Or I guess Thia does. Yeah. What was going through Thia's head when he walks into the door?
So a lot of Thia's backstory, like, it isn't necessarily that intense, but it comes from a lot of feelings that I have, which is why, like, a couple episodes ago, like, Thia, like, sees her dad again coming to pick up Meryl from the college, and, like, I straight up almost started crying because Jacob, like, dismissed me so fast. He was just like, and he leaves, and I was like, my dad doesn't like me. So, like, honestly, it's just kind of, I think, well, she was there to do a job, and she wanted to do it well, but at the same time, it's, like, very distracting whenever, like, you're like, what is he, like, does he see me? Like, does his wife see me? Like, did the kids see me? Do they know who I am? Like, what does he think I'm doing? Like, yeah, it's really, like, distracting and just overwhelming, because at that point, I think me and Jacob talked about it in the way, like, their relationship had been, like, Thia's about, like, 100-something years old, and the timeline of her backstory, she probably hadn't spoken to him in, like, 10 years, I would think, at least. No, because Meryl's, like, they're, like, 8, so, like, at least, like,
Meryl's, like, Meryl and her brother are, like, 8 years old.
Well, when was the...
Yeah, so it's been, like...
Sorry, when was the death of your aunt? Was that also...
That was, like, 50 years ago.
Because isn't that one of the things that kind of drove her to end up... I would assume that probably happened over time, though. That was probably something
Thea's been going back and forth a little.
Yeah. Well, also, sorry, I did not mean to cut in on your backstory.
Fucking dare you, Caleb.
Well, I'll follow it up with a second question. One of the biggest things, since I'm one of the or editing our videos, one of the things that I noted down in your intro is that the death of your aunt forces you almost to kind of, like, break that relationship, and you left and you met the Moonweaver, which is how you became, like, kind of, you got the powers of a cleric. So was that did you leave your dad, like, in that, like, 50 years ago, did Thia just leave and then, like, go kind of stick around the same town, and that's how she met the Moonweaver? Or did you would you think your character kind of stuck around over time and then finally left?
Yeah, so I think the timeline got a little confusing when me and Jacob were trying to figure that out. We were like, how many fucking... Like, it's just a lot of years. I don't know why I decided to make her 100, but that's what I said, so we're here. And basically what happened was, like, Thia's mom died, and Thia's mom was a wood elf, her dad is a high elf. So Jacob let me get the benefits of both, which was very nice of
It
him.
makes sense it makes sense.
Yeah, I just kept being like, can I have this thing? I just kept pushing, and he was like, okay. And then finally he put a little bit of limits on there. He was like, you can only have like a little bit. I was like, okay. But so Thia's mom was a wood elf, and they lived in like a village, and she dies of some mysterious illness that Jacob won't tell me about. And so at that point she's like, I don't know what to do. And so she kind of went to find her father, because like they'd never had like her mother and father had never had like a huge relationship. It was just like he was in the village like on a diplomatic thing for a few months, and then Thea happened, but he left before he even knew. So she goes to like seek him out, because she doesn't know what else to do, because she's about like 50 at this point probably, which is pretty young for an elf. And she is like, hey, like, I'm your daughter, hey, what's up? And he's not, I don't know, he's not like thrilled, obviously. He's just like, I don't know what to do with this, like, what's happening? And eventually she also meets Linares, who is Targarys' sister, and what she doesn't get from a relationship with him, she gets from Linares, who's like a second mother to her, especially since she just lost one. And whatever happened whenever the college was founded, she'd only known Linares for about 3 years, is how long she stayed with her father, I think, is what we established. And whenever, yeah, something around there. And whenever she finds out that Linares died, she's like, well, there's no reason for me to stay any longer, because I think at that point she would have been training to be a wizard. Like that would have been like her goal, to be like her aunt. But then without her, she's like, well, I have nothing to stay here for, because my dad doesn't give a fuck that I'm here. He's not trying to have a relationship. My choices he doesn't agree with, which I don't really know what that means. Jacob said it a couple times, and I'm like, what? Because I don't know exactly what it is that divides them. Like, I can kind of guess, but for the most part, I don't really know what it is that divides them. And so whenever she leaves, she's real upset. Obviously, she's like, I don't know where to go. And then she's greeted in the woods by this like spectral being of the Moonweaver. It's not actually her, because of the Divine Gate, whatever. But that's when she like comes under the Moonweaver's wing and is like, follow me, it'll be great. And that's what she's been doing ever since. Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Cool. Well, you answered.
And then after,
no, go ahead. Keep going. Keep going.
I have one more thing to say. I forgot there was like a whole 30 more years that I was like, oh, I need to account for that. It's real quick, but basically, Jacob and I created another character that was important to Thea in her life. Like, while she probably hung around Singorn for a little bit longer, a friend of hers who kind of kept her like okay for a little while, and then like every once in a while she would go back and visit, and then eventually the twins happened, and so she would like either just like go and visit, or like disguise herself and sneak back in, and just to like check up on them without like actually being noticed. And then eventually just kind of was like, nothing's happening for me here. I need to go find what my purpose is, because she had really none. I remember at the very first session we ever did, they were like, what are you doing? What are you here for? And I was just like, I want to go on an adventure.
Yeah, that was it. That was your whole backstory.
Exactly.
Hey, it's a start to many great stories.
I mean, your backstory had a basic structure. It was, I've been stuck in a city for pretty much my whole life, and I want to actually explore what like the rest of the world is like. And that was your whole character's backstory. In a way, I don't know if that's changed. The broadness of it hasn't changed much. It just has a lot more flavor now of like why you did end up leaving, and what kind of things got you into what like being a cleric in the first place. So
right. And now like meeting Braun, and like with this other character that I talked about that I'm not gonna like go into, because I'm assuming he'll come up at some point, ? And I don't want to ruin it, but because we made him, and
no
but like meeting Braun and then this other person, like Thea is multi-classed as a rogue, and I haven't been using it for some fucking reason, so that kind of has an influence. And I really want to explore that more, and I talked to Michael about it. Like, I want to explore her and Braun having some kind of, like, mentor-mentee relationship.
Which
and,
is
like,
funny,
actually,
'cause
like,
Braun
learning.
is like a fifth of your age.
Yeah. We can talk about
But,
that
like, mentally...
afterwards a little
About the
bit.
same.
Anyway, I'm done now.
Zach, do you have any more questions, maybe for Abby or the whole group?
Yeah, so Abby, you answered my second question
good.
about backstory. So
I talk too much.
no, so I guess all three of you can answer this. What kind of dice do you guys use? Is there like your special set? Did you go shopping for 5 weeks to try to find that perfect set, or did you just go to Walmart and grab just a random?
I'll pull my.
Let me get my bag.
Do this real quick.
So I guess I'll go first because my dice are right here. So I just bought these purple, so my first dice set that I got were these purple, clear ones. I got them when I was 16, used them for my first character, which was a rogue, and I've used them basically ever since. They roll terrible now. They didn't used to. It's so weird when people might know, but when you go from player to DM, your dice never roll the same. It's so weird. And Michael could attest to this. When I was playing, I was the one that was always critting and rolling well. But now,
Dude,
I'm rolling natural ones.
My one shot. When you played my one shot, you were rolling spectacular rolls.
Yeah, when I'm a player, I roll really well.
Yeah.
When I'm a DM, it's terrible.
Plugging my one shot for called the Oblivion of the Rogues is on our YouTube channel. I'm not gonna edit it. It's one of our only videos that will be unedited. You will be able to see what our very first few videos looked like. It was literally just a non-copyrighted background with our pictures on it. And that's it. That was it. But
that one was in my old apartment.
It was
cute.
yeah. Oblivion of the Rogues wasn't too bad.
Baxi makes an appearance in that episode.
Yes, if you
that reappeared recently.
A recent or an old character from my one shot. I created the one shot in the same world, killed off 2 of the rogues. I was trying to kill off all 3 with a dragon, so that all their loot would be left behind for our players to eventually find it at some point. But Jacob got his character out of it because he rolled freaking crazy.
I rolled 2 natural 20s on stealth. It was awesome.
Yeah,
anyway.
I'll get.
Fucking ridiculous.
I'll show my dice real quick. I will probably go into it more when we talk about some of Animas' backstory. This is my main dice that I use. It's clear and it has these metallic green shavings pieced into it. And I have a set of those that I picked out on Amazon. I did actually look for a little while for a cool druid-based one, but I also have 2 full sacks of.
Jesus.
I actually bought everyone's first set of dice because I knew I knew that coming into this no one would have any, so I bought everyone a set of dice. I think Abby was one of the first to pick out her set.
Yeah.
So
Canal took the white ones, so I got the black ones, and then he gave me 3 extra D20s.
Yes, I bought an extra pack of D20s for everyone because I know that D20s you want to switch them out every once in a while. And then I bought a couple extra. I bought some bulk packs just for myself. I like playing with different colors, for different reasons. Like whenever we play one shots, I'll play different colors if I'm. And that's just.
I would say that
you
two are definitely the dice addicts in the group.
Etsy
have so many sets of dice.
It's a weird thing,
Etsy enables me.
Every week you want to play. I always have that green metallic set up for the most part, but every week I want to have I have 2 dice setups on my tray, and that second set is usually just something I pick before the session. I'm like I think I'm gonna try this one out. So, but I'll go into more of my dice stuff later. So.
Yeah, I don't have a system yet, but Etsy has started to enable me. Etsy has some really good dice if you just look them up. There's some cool ones. I got 3 new ones recently that I'm really excited about, so I'm going to show you. This one is yellow, and it's called Lemon Drop, and I thought they were so cute. This one is super fucking cool. It's kind of like Caleb's, but it's got puzzle pieces on the inside that are green, and they were Elven specific or something. And so I was like, she's an elf. Sure, I'll use these. And then these are metallic. They were ruby. They're not actual rubies, obviously, because they were $11.99.
Break it and sell
it. Yeah, But Ruby's my birthstone because I was born in July, and I was like, these are cool as fuck. So I have those, and I have a couple others that I got at like Barnes and Noble and
Barnes
stuff.
Noble,
But
man.
Barnes and Noble has
I am
good deals
gonna-
on D&D
Do you
stuff.
know,
yeah.
Abby, do you know which one's your most used set?
I mean, probably the ones you got me, just because I had them longer.
Oh,
But
yeah. Well, outside the ones
now-
I got you.
probably this one. I like these a lot. I think I lost a D20. Holy shit!
Oh, no.
Oh my
Oh
god.
no! Scour the house.
Oh, God.
God, no! This is my dice bag. It's gonna get full. It's only about to here right now, so it's really not that bad.
That's weak. Those are
But-
rookie numbers. Gotta get those numbers up.
All
I'm gonna
right.
fucking buy more, Jacob.
All right, so coming up to the end of this episode, it was a little longer, mostly for technical issues, and yeah, technical issues. They're always a thing to get past. Something that we
And
continuously
Abby
will
talking
work
too
on.
much.
No, that'll be fine. Talking is a good way for people to understand your character, so that's not a big deal. Thank you guys so
All
much
day,
for
every day.
checking up on our weekly recap. We'll be having these every week. We're going to do 2 episodes every week up until we can catch up with our current episodes, and then from there on, we'll just do the episode that aired that week. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Check us out on Sunday nights, and also check us out next week with another weekly recap. Thank you guys.
Oh wait, one more thing. I forgot something. One more thing. Do we have time?
Yep, you're good.
Are we good?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. So, as some of you might know, if you're into Pokemon, the new DLC is coming out, and I plan on streaming the new DLC when it comes out. Also, probably streaming next week, starting on Tuesday. We're gonna start doing Pokemon every Tuesday. It's gonna be awesome. I don't have an exact time yet. I will have an exact time on Sunday, but it's gonna be sweet.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Jacob.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. Check us out on Sunday nights. See ya.